Showtime in the big city. Welcome in, everyone. Yes, it's time for Three Guys Before the Game. It's interesting. Really is interesting how the basketball gods work things out.
How's that?
Well, here's the deal. Our special guest on this episode of Three Guys Before the Game is Mountaineer basketball coach Ross Hodge. Do you know what episode number this is?
No.
No, we have no idea.
None.
I'm surprised you do.
644. Oh, if there ever was a number associated with Mountaineer basketball more than 44, well, there isn't.
No,
So
it's not.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That just come to you?
Hey, when I was writing that down, when I write down episode, I said 44, that's it.
I don't know. It's 644. It's not 44. It's 644.
Just go with it. See? So I got Debbie Downer over there.
You
Got to
did kind of ruin
everything.
the vibe there. Why didn't you just go with it?
Just
That was
go
actually
with it.
that was one of his better setups.
Ross, in advance, will
really
apologize for Hoppy. He'll do that throughout the course of the show. Just tries to stomp down any fun and frivolity, jocularity,
Not
levity. Ugh. Anyway.
I do have some questions for Coach.
I'm sure you do. Did you bring your little legal pad?
I do.
Oh, he's got his little legal pad. Last time he took that legal pad off, Ren Baker didn't know if he should wind his watch or comb his hair. I mean, he came after him.
No. This is all good.
Three Guys brought to us by Jan Dills, attorneys at law. They won't take no for an answer. By Comax Business System, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Gomart. Get a Gomart rewards card. Go to gomart.com for details. A little bit later, we'll tell Ross about being able to go to Gomart and buy 17-foot Slim Jim. Three Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun, the award-winning marina. Also, all of their pontoon boats. Going back, we've done a little history lesson on this. Every James Bond movie, going back to before Sean Connery, has used a Lou Wendell pontoon boat. Any scene you see on a James Bond movie, they've used a Lou Wendell pontoon.
Unconfirmed.
Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Three Guys also brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's Biscuit. And by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers. All right, let's do this thing, man. We've been waiting patiently, and we had to wait to get Ross in here because it's kind of like if we would have gotten him in earlier, it would kind of be like a chef that you said, "Chef, what are you making for us to eat?" And he would go, "I don't know. I don't have any of the ingredients yet." So we had to wait for Ross and his staff to go get the ingredients, and now we have a roster. Maybe one more name by the time it's all done, but for the most part, we've got the roster. Practice is going on, and a lot of stuff that we're going to get into. So first off, appreciate your time.
Yeah, glad to be here with you guys.
Good to have you.
You know, when you look at a calendar and it's July the 7th, I don't think I would have ever thought I'd say this, but you just had practice this morning. I mean, you remember like October 15 used to be Christmas Day for basketball.
Yep.
It was, and now you guys just like, it's like a convenient, you're like Gomart. You're open all the time. You just like practice all the time.
And full go, real practices.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even when I first started coaching at the collegiate level, I guess I joined Division I ranks in 2012. 11-12, and even then you couldn't practice with your team. They could work out with the strength coach, and then they could play pickup and do things like that on their own, but it wasn't. And then they went to where you could do 4-man groups, then you could do a certain amount of stuff with a ball, without a ball, and then finally they just kind of ripped the Band-Aid.
Without a ball.
Yeah.
So without a ball, you can be out there. You can't have a ball. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's like the no jam on your bagel.
Yeah.
Some really creative. You saw, T-shirts wadded tightly, taped up, but it wasn't a ball. And now you get you get 8 hours a week. You get 4 hours on the floor, and then you get 4 hours in the weight room.
The way that the game has changed, and you're literally making so many roster movements, I would be afraid if you didn't have those opportunities that now exist. If you had to start with your new dudes on October 15th, like it'd be lucky if you were able to do the layup line by the time the season started.
Yeah, you'd be spending the first October 15th, just introducing everybody to everybody. Right. And, yeah, it's definitely a benefit. And there's been some talk. They talked a little bit about it at the Big 12 meetings about even adding some more time in the summer for that very reason, because you are getting twofold. You're getting brand new teams, and then with some of the benefits that student athletes are able to, have nowadays with NIL and the financial, it's like, well, maybe they should be doing more than just really 4 hours a week on the court.
Yeah, if you're going to pay them, yeah.
Sure.
So.
You mentioned the Big 12 meeting. So that's really the only time all year where the Big 12 coaches are together and they're actually having time just to talk about stuff. Because if you go to media day, you guys don't – so, like, for you, when you go into that Big 12 media or Big 12 coaches sit-down meeting for the first time, I would imagine it's kind of a little bit like a kid first day at school. Like, everyone else knows each other, but you're like the new kid coming in. Like, so when you walked in and Self sitting there and Kelvin Sampson, like, did you look at Sampson and go, sup?
No, I did not do that. I said, what's up, coach? How are you? No. So, being a junior college head coach for 5 years and having the good fortune of having really good players, a lot of those guys had recruited our players or had been in my gym before, and so I didn't know everybody in there, but I'd say 65-70% of you knew them pretty well. Yeah. Some more than others, but so it wasn't it wasn't like you're really walking into a room where you've only seen these people on TV and you've never had conversations with any of them ever.
Right. Yeah. So Sampson is a guy that I know you think a lot about because he guards the way that you like to guard, the way you want to guard, and in the constant looking at scoring statistics, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, we've I think if you look over the last 5 years, maybe 5 years, scoring defense, Houston, was number one, and we had been, number two at North Texas. Two of those years, we led the country in scoring defense. In I think 2022, and then in 23, we led that. And so, yeah, I have a ton of respect, for the way they do things, the way he runs a program, the consistency. And really all facets of what they've been able to do, retaining their better players, which is a big deal in today's era. And he has that good balance of, holds them accountable, coaches them really hard, but then also, loves on them at the same time where they want to stay in that environment and they get better.
Let's talk philosophy for a second. How did you land on this defense-first philosophy? There's a lot of different ways to win basketball games. How'd you land on the defense side?
Yeah, I think some of it is just the coaches that I played for in high school. Leonard Bishop was a really good high school coach. He was from Missouri and played at Three Rivers, played for Gene Bess. And then so he kind of had that tilt to him as well. And he actually ended up leaving. I played at Seagoville High School, which is in Dallas, and he left Seagoville and then went to Dallas Lincoln High School and won a national championship there. He was 40-0. Coach Chris Bosch.
Oh yeah.
And so that was also my first enlightening moment of how important players are because we were running the same offense and the same defense, and we were going like 20-12, 20-10, and then he went and coached a Hall of Famer NBA player, and they went 40-0. And then same way with then went and played junior college coach for junior college basketball for a guy named Bill Foy, who I ended up working for as well, and he was an Indiana guy. He was graduated from the University of Indiana, so the Bob Knight influence was there with him, and he won a national championship there at Paris Junior College, and then same way with the guy that I played for at Division II level, Sam Walker, who's the all-time winningest coach at the University of was Texas A&M Commerce at the time, and it was a Division II school. Now it's East Texas A&M, and they're actually a Division I school in the Southland.
How about that?
So some of it was the background of the guys that I played for. Some of it was not being the most athletically gifted runner, jumper, vertical athlete. And so if I was going to get on the floor, I had to be able to execute what coaches wanted to do and with a level of like toughness and edge to it. I wasn't just going to, make up for any sort of mistakes with raw athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
So you guarded personally.
Yeah,
Because you still get out there occasionally with slide drills. Your lateral movement's pretty good.
Yeah, you be very careful nowadays that you don't pop any hammies or any Achilles. It's
right.
You can always spot about 4 or 5 people when you go recruit in the summer and they're on the scooter and you're like, yeah, y'all were playing noon basketball and I'm not doing that.
You're
anymore.
smart. You're doing short bursts.
Yeah,
well, that's what it takes. One short burst.
No, I mean like little. He's not trying to go to the basket or anything. Just do a couple.
No
slides.
sudden change of directions.
Yeah, couple slides.
As long
and then
as
you're
you
out.
know where you're going. You're good. It's when you have to change direction that people, but and then so yeah, it was just kind of a little bit of personality, a little bit of just what I grew up in, and then figuring out ways to win basketball games, which I still believe ultimately like that's going to give you the best chance to win night in, night out, if you're committed to the defensive end of the floor.
Coach,
Careful now, he's got his legal pad on. Now here it starts. This is a legal pad.
No, this is not. This is not. This Coach, I am misrepresented by these guys here.
Don't say these guys. He's saying it.
Well, that's fair. Okay. So what percent of defensive excellence, what percent is technique and what percent is effort?
It's a good question. You can't – technique is important. Positioning is important. Trusting your teammates is important. But if you're not going to play with a certain amount of effort, then it doesn't really matter. You can have the best schemes. You can have the best techniques. You can have the best fundamentals. But if that isn't synced up with, just want to and willingness to play really, really hard, then I think you're always going to be a little short on that end of the floor.
So in the guys that you've recruited, the guys you've brought in, do you know already that you've seen their effort, or do you see guys and say, well, I can get more out of them?
Yeah, I think, a couple of things. So not to take away from, what we've been good at, which is obviously we've been elite at the defensive end of the floor. But basketball, unlike a football, you don't run a defense on the floor and pull your offense off the floor. So it goes hand in hand. And I know sometimes, I would rather recruit a good offensive player banking on the fact that their care factor is high enough, they want to win at a high enough level, and then you can convince them that we have to play this way to win. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, to get a really good offensive player to guard than it is to take a really good defensive player that maybe doesn't have offensive skill, and now you're trying to inject that into them at this stage of their career.
A little bit late for that, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Not that guys can't get better and improve on certain things, but if you're trying to, those guys, they've been playing for a long time. And so the guys that their ball goes in the basket, that ball has been going in the basket for a long, long time.
So just one other follow-up on that. So what do you see? You're already coaching these guys. So what do you do with a player that you don't think you're getting what you need yet defensively? How do you coach that guy up?
Well, I think now there's so much learning that's being introduced. And so, you kind of have to ask yourself, is it an effort deal or is it a lack of understanding?
Okay.
It's kind of hard to hold somebody accountable to something that they don't know what's going on, Mm-hmm. And so I think once they get a baseline understanding of what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be doing it and how we want it done, then that's where you kick in the accountability piece, and that can come in a lot of shapes and forms. And sometimes it's just running or push-ups, or when you're not as confined from a time standpoint, maybe it is just like you were going to be in this specific drill segment for as long as it takes, and you're not getting out of it until you do what we ask you to do. And then you're reinforcing that with, obviously have a great staff, and you're reinforcing that with film, and they're coming back. You have so much technology at your disposal nowadays that also helps. I mean, we have real time we have real time ability to go from the practice floor to a monitor during practice, and you get that a lot. Like you'll tell a guy he's not in a stance, he may think he is in a stance, and then you can go over there and like, well, let's go look at it, and then you can show them, and then they can clearly see like, oh, I'm not in a stance.
Stay on that for a second, because I think that's interesting. I don't know that I've seen that over the last few years, but you do that. You'll pull a guy off the practice floor, walk right over to the monitor, go through it, back up the tape, and put it in right on the moment. That's a huge advantage, and a huge advantage you're doing it in July, not November.
Yeah, it's again, we've got great guys. They want to be coached. They let us coach hard, but you know how it is. I mean, all of us, like sometimes you may have thought you did something, or you maybe thought you were, because you're talking, a foot positioning, and
right.
maybe they're 2 feet from where they're supposed to be, and in their mind they think they're there. And so to be able to reinforce it right away helps everybody.
I'm fascinated by the intangible process of taking a player to a level that they don't even know that they can achieve. And that's what you're trying to do. Mike Crutchfield is the coach at Nova Southeastern down in Florida. Mm-hmm. And he's a Clarksburg guy and an unbelievable success. But when we had him on recently after he won his last title here in March, he said that the whole journey is to make those guys who think they're playing at 100% just show them they aren't, and then to get them there. So that's when I'm watching you guys in practice right now, I see that's what you're trying to do, to take them to a place where they don't even know exists yet. What's the magic in doing that? Because obviously you've had success in doing it because of the stats that you've put together.
I think a big part of that, and it'll probably come back to a lot of any questions as far as, that you're knocking a lot of that out in the recruiting process itself. And you're doing your research, you're finding out like, okay, like, will these players allow us to push them out of their comfort zone? What is actually in their heart? Do they want to be great? Do they want to be coached? Do they allow you to coach them? And so I think that's kind of one of the best gifts, that players can give coaches, is like legitimately what you just talked about. Like, are you going to let us push you past the point of where you're comfortable? Mm-hmm. And if there's kind of like there's a proverb that says like, when a student is ready, a teacher will appear, and a lot of that is true. If a player's, I've always said, I've never coached a player that didn't get it, that wanted to get it. Now you've had some guys, they didn't want to do what you were asking them to do, and so they were never going to get it. But the guys that really want to get it, that want to be great, that want to be great players, once they realize that you also take, you care about them as a person, and they'll let you coach them, But a lot of that is done in the recruiting process. You got to recruit guys that let you coach them.
So as you make your way here, you know that Brennan Lorient and Jasper Floyd are those guys that will allow you to do that and say, okay, you're coming.
Yeah, I mean, we coached both those guys really, really hard, and that was part of the growth I thought you saw in Belo, Brennan's journey from, kind of a reserve player at Florida Atlantic, very good team, to a first team all-league player in the American, and that doesn't happen unless a player is going to allow you to tell them the truth and then coach them to that truth, and both those guys have that heart, and they've allowed us to do that, and they've continued to get better even through this process.
Mm-hmm.
Brad?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
This is another legal
You're
pad
jumping
question.
in. I could hear you back there breathing on my neck.
I took
so
the
go
legal
ahead.
pad out again.
Coach, a couple quotes from you. You said, if you're going to win the Big 12, you have to be one of the best defensive teams in the country. We plan to be one of the best defensive teams in the country in the Big 12, which makes you one of the best in the country. You also said, if you're going to win on the road, you better be tough, you better be physical, you better be able to defend. So again, along this defensive theme, is that on the road in this league, there are places where you don't always get a whistle, and I'm not going to mention any names, Kansas or Houston.
Here we go.
But so what is your bench approach to that? Because, look, there are times when you just don't get the whistle, especially if you're playing physical on the road.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever go into any sort of hostile environment and think, that if it's a 50-50 call, that it's probably going to go your way. That would be kind of foolish to think that way, honestly. And so, because officials they're doing the best they can. They're human beings too. So to act like that there may not be some level of influence when you're in an opposing arena with 20,000 people, and so you just kind of have to be mentally prepared when you're going in those environments. And like I tell our guys, if you're on the road and you're gonna go in there and you're gonna get the ball knocked out of your hands, even if you are fouled a little bit and you think you're gonna get the foul call, then you're not going in there with the right mindset. My humble opinion has been if you go in there and you're tough enough to play through the contact and you hold on to the ball, you get foul calls. You get the ball knocked out of your hands. I don't care how much hand they get or arm, like you're flailing and flopping, and like you're not getting those calls on the road, And so you got to be able to play through it, and you got to be able to stay together, and there's going to be ebbs and flows in all basketball.
What is your go-to with the officials if you truly think you're not getting the whistle you should be getting, beyond what you said?
I mean, probably just tell them, like you just said, just like, communicate with them. Mm-hmm. I'm not the type of guy that's just going to sit there and badger them for 40 minutes. I'd rather, like anything, have some teeth behind it, that if I am saying something to it that they know, and they know, like, man, we've had this guy a lot. He's not over here just complaining and crying about every foul call. Like we probably did miss that one if he's saying we missed it.
Okay.
I think that's what you would like to establish,
What's your average technical fouls per season?
I've only gotten 2 technical fouls, and they were both when I was an assistant.
Really?
Oh.
Was the
I haven't got a
Deserved?
One was 100% not deserved. One was 100% deserved.
Well, that averages out.
Well, what's the not deserved? Did somebody else say it? You got pinned with it?
No, it was in it was during COVID. And so you're playing in these. So yeah,
they can hear you pretty good.
That starts right there. So we're playing La Tech in Denton, and there's nobody in there but the cardboards and maybe 500 other people, and I was just yelling for like a 3-second call.
Yeah.
But it was probably loud, and it was probably more than 20 times. But Kevin Mathis, who I like, he's a good official. He gave it to me. And at halftime, I was like, I just was like, dude, you gave me a technical foul for yelling 3 seconds. And then the other one, I probably deserved.
You had to own that.
But I haven't got one as a head coach yet.
The other one that you probably deserved, is that official work in the Big 12?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Let's talk players for a second. A couple guys we've had on this podcast, Honor Huff, Trace and Eagle staff. So they're kind of guys that you were just talking about, right? Elite scorers, have been elite scorers at their previous stops. You're asking them to probably play a little more defense than they've had to before. What have you seen from those two particularly?
Same. Just a super willingness. 2 players that basketball is really important to them. They want to be great. So they've really opened themselves up to allowing us to push them past their comfort zones, and so, legs may be a little short on some jump shots at the moment, hitting the front of the rim, getting their legs under them, but they both trade really hard, and they're both tremendous people and tremendous teammates. They really care about their teammates. They really have a heart for, other people. And like I said, if that's the combination, those type of personalities will usually allow you to push them past the point of what they've been doing. So, and
those guys can both really shoot it. I mean, you've seen evidence of that too.
Yeah. They can shoot it with the best of them.
Yeah.
Have you had? I'm sure you have had a couple of moments, because you're recruiting these guys. You think you know what you're getting, but during these practices, have you had a moment or two where either you or someone on your staff, you kind of look at each other and go like, "Ooh, I didn't know they could do that."
Maybe not to that extent, because you know how it is when you're in that environment. Like, you're coaching them, so you're just nitpicking them to death.
Right.
It's not till they actually leave, then they become immortalized.
Yeah, exactly.
they're terrible. And then as soon as the moment the buzzer stops, you're just like, well, man, if we just had him, man, we could win the whole thing. And you're telling their teammates, man, if you just did it like,
that's so true.
But so not really. We've been pleased with both of their ability to make plays for themselves and for others. I think Honor's playmaking ability for his teammates. Maybe you didn't think it was
his
as high as it
distribute.
was. Yes, but like I said, if you go back and you looked at his junior year, his usage rate was higher. He had the ball a lot more, and then the way they played last year, the ball just touched everybody's hands a lot more. But that's been a pleasant surprise, and Eagle staff's the same way. With his size at that position and being able to pass over the top of defenses, and they can both really, really shoot the ball.
Fair to say that Trayson Eagle's staff is in a whole new world than he's been in, and that's probably a great deal of fun for you because he may be the Brennan Lorient for this season, right? In other words, a guy that's just going to go like that.
Yeah. We're asking them to defend at a much higher level, and that's the good thing about him and Lorient both went through the NBA draft process.
Right.
And they're getting honest feedback. A lot of times you don't want to say that they're not getting honest feedback in recruiting processes, but
they're not.
You're definitely probably they're probably getting the most. Not all, but some coaches put it like that. We won't even quantify it, but they're going to paint the rosiest picture possible for their opportunity. And when those guys go and they take part in that draft process, they're just getting direct feedback. And a lot of the times that direct feedback is what you need them to improve in and improve on. So Trayson knows he has to be a better defender because you can't be a liability and want to play at the highest level.
This is an incredibly difficult league, as you well know. What is in your opinion, what is a realistic expectation for fans in the short term and long term with you as the head coach as to what you can achieve here?
Realistic or fair?
Fair.
Combination.
Fair. I like fair is a good word.
Yeah.
What's fair?
I think we would want to win a national championship. That's the only reason you do this. Ultimately it's what we do. I think you can do it here. They've made it to Final Fours here before with Coach Huggins in 2010, and to me you have to find a way to consistently get back to being in the NCAA tournament yearly. And if you can get in the tournament yearly, then you have the opportunity. Somebody else gets upset. Next thing you know, next you're in the Sweet 16, you're in the Elite 8, and then you're in the Final Four, and you're like, dang, but I think a big part of that, because everyone remembers the Final Fours,
right.
If you're talking about like blue blood programs, whatever, people that make Final Four runs, well, there's a lot of also one and done years where they get upset in the first round.
Right.
But they're just in the tournament every year.
Yeah.
And so they get knocked out. Somebody upsets them, and you remember it, but then it's like 2 years later, you're in the Elite 8 again. And so I think consistently being in the NCAA tournament is a big start.
So you talked about winning a national championship. So you take this job, and are you thinking to yourself, boy, in my career, it would be great. What a fantasy it would be to be in the Final Four. Or are you thinking, here's what we need to do to realistically get to a Final Four? Is that your mindset, that you can get to a Final Four?
That's certainly the only way the only way I know to think, honestly, especially in time period and the way that college athletics is. I don't think anybody wants to hear anybody talk about a 3 to 5 year plan, and you don't get that anymore. You look back at even some coaches that have been very successful, like a Coach K at Duke. You look at his first couple years when he was at Duke,
nowadays.
Not nowadays, So I think you kind of have to have that type of mindset, and you do have the ability to put a roster together. And
are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with this new world, or would you rather be coaching in the old world?
Well, I don't really have a choice, so I try not to. I try not to live in, unless somebody's going to bring me a DeLorean and bring Dr. Brown
future,
and fly back to the future. But no, it's kind of it's the nature of the business that we're in nowadays, and it's what we've chose. And
but your junior college background actually was doing this anyway. Like you were doing this before this became the norm.
It was, and it's ironic that it's we talked about this a little bit before, but just I think early on when I was a junior college coach, or even before that, there's really, really, really good junior college coaches, names that people doesn't mean much to people, but it means everything to people that have been in the junior college ranks. Lewis Orr, Coach Spencer, Coach Jernander, Steve Green. These are like Hall of Fame. Coach Floyd. These are like tremendous coaches that easily, given an opportunity at this level, could have had the same level of success. And but maybe there was like frowned upon a little bit. There was a stigma associated with junior college. It was like, yeah, but can you take a player? Can you develop them? Can they get 4 years? Can they do that? And now, like you said, it's flipped the other way. It's completely flipped back to really you are bringing a brand new roster together a lot of the times. You may have a handful of players back, 2 or 3 back, which feels like a ton, and you're trying to assimilate a group together, bring them together quickly, figure out what the strengths and the weaknesses are individually, collectively, and then trying to go win.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Gomart. It's hot outside, Hop. I don't know if you noticed or not.
Notice that, yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. You can stay cool and save some cash with the Gomart app. How about this deal? This month of July, get $1 off 2 Deer Park 1-liter bottles, $1 off a 24-pack Deer Park spring water, and you can score $1 off 2 Hershey's Family king-size bars, 2 large sweets peg bags. I don't know if you know this or not, Ross, but Gomart also sells 15-foot Slim Jims and Reese cups as big as a manhole cover. A lot of people don't know that. For Gomart reward members, you can pick up the Lay's chips Dairy Dip, 2 for $7, or the Corn Nuts buy one get one for just $1. For all the deals, go to the Gomart app. Gomart app, you basically save like $7,000 to $8,000 every time you walk in. Isn't that right, Brad? Pretty close to that.
Usually a little bit more than that.
A little bit more. So check it out. Get the Gomart app and immediately begin saving on your food and fuel.
By the way, Gatorade's on sale right now too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
This is a grand seat. You a Gatorade guy, Ross?
I'm not.
What do you drink normally?
Water and Diet Coke.
Straight water?
Water and Diet Coke.
Really?
How many Diet Cokes?
No electrolytes in there or anything?
How many Diet Cokes a day?
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
First one is when?
For breakfast.
You go with it early.
So no coffee?
No coffee.
Diet
Not
Coke.
a coffee guy.
So like 6 a.m. you hit a Diet Coke?
No. 8:39 with breakfast. I don't drink Diet Coke when I'm thirsty.
Right.
Just
It's
with
simply-
meals.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a luxury liquid.
Just with meals.
Basically, it's a luxury liquid.
I
mean, it's
guess.
not
First I've heard of that. Just give it a luxury.
Not very luxurious, but I like it.
No, I mean, so he basically said he wasn't using it for hydration, so it was kind of a little bit of a luxury liquid.
I thought maybe caffeine delivery system too.
Yeah,
Cool.
okay.
A little
But-
kick in the.
Yeah.
So 8:39. So are you a Ren Baker? Are you like up late doing stuff and then you sleep in a little bit? Or are you an early? What are you?
It kind of depends on the time period.
Because Ren Baker sleeps till like 10:30.
No, that's not. You can't go ahead and say. You don't know. Do you have fact on that?
No, I don't.
I mean, I don't think the guy's getting up when the rooster crows, but I don't know if he's at 10:30.
It kind of depends on. A lot of it depends on my kids' school
okay.
schedule
Yeah.
and my wife's. So my wife is a Pilates instructor.
Oh.
And so in Texas, she taught two classes a week were 5:30 a.m. Pilates classes.
Hello.
So she was leaving the house at 4:45, and then so Reed, my son, was playing football. And they would practice in the morning because it's like, I know people think it's been hot here. It has not been hot here. This is not. It's been hotter, but this isn't hot. And so they would practice, at 6:15. So I'd take him to practice, and
So you can get you're versatile. You can get up early if you need to get up early, and don't get early. Yeah.
You ever do the Pilates?
no,
Really?
I have done it before. If I get an hour to work out, I'd rather do something else.
What's preferred? Run?
No, when it's not hotter outside, I don't mind running. I like the elliptical. And then Coach Martinez, he'll have something whipped up for us that we try to knock out.
Yeah.
30, 45 minutes.
Fair to
Combination of cardio and strength.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
knocking it all
Fair
out.
to say that from a topography perspective, this is probably going to be the most challenging place where you live. Now, hills. I mean, you can go up and down some hills pretty quick.
Pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
Speaking of which, you were from Dallas, right? From
Yes.
Dallas. And then you were at Denton, which is basically a suburb almost of Dallas. But that Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is 8 million people. This whole state is 1.8. I mean, has it been weird for you and your family? I mean, to come here and, I mean, this is country. You're in the country.
Yeah, no. Because we lived so like you were saying, like you described Texas, and I try to explain this to people, like Texas would be what you would if you combined, West Virginia, Ohio, Philadelphia,
Right.
New
about,
York,
about 5 states. Yeah.
And so if you're in, West Texas, you're
Sure.
going to be in like a desert climate, not a lot of trees, a lot of oil derricks and wind turbines and flatlands. If you're in East,
You've obviously been to Lubbock.
yeah,
Yeah.
been to Lubbock, and lived in Midland for 2 years.
Yeah,
so lived in
right.
Midland for 2 years. East Texas is going to be more like piney woods, green. Central Texas is like your hill country,
Right.
Like and so, and then like Commerce, the town where I went to school, was 8,000 people,
Oh, okay.
2 lights there,
Yeah.
So, you kind of. We've lived in lots of different places. We lived in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We've lived in
Okay.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We lived in Fort Collins for 4 years, five years in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is mountains, different type of mountains. And so,
So you get what has it meant to you, or have you experienced the fact? And Ren Baker talks about this some too. Is that you come here and there is this WVU has this extremely loyal following. People take it very seriously. So when they see you or meet you, and they're big fans.
Yeah.
It's a small state, but there's a lot of devoted fans.
Yeah.
Brad knows that well because he worked in the athletic department for years. So does that resonate with you? The passion?
yeah, you can definitely. It doesn't take long to feel that and experience that. And like I said, everybody's been incredibly welcoming. We haven't lost a game yet, so everybody still likes me. Nobody's spitting my food or anything. But no, yeah, you can tell. Again, there is no pro sports. This is it, and it's cool to hear people's stories and talk about the lineage of their family and how they supported and how they've had season tickets and how we come to this game and how they remember when they were and where they were, and it means a lot. Means a lot to us. That's what makes this place special, and that's where ultimately, as a coach, you want to coach and be a part of places that it means something
Right.
to everyone, not just the university, not just athletics, but the state.
Yeah.
And one thing, maybe it's a top of the mind awareness thing. Brad and I were talking about this after practice. I've been amazed at the amount of people that have West Virginia connections or Morgantown ties, no matter where you are.
Exactly.
And maybe it was something that I just
Undefeated.
didn't notice before, but now, like, everywhere you go, you see a hat, you see a backpack, you see and then you talk to them, or when you tell people, you live in Morgantown, they're like, oh, my uncle lived in,
Yep.
it's amazing how many people are connected to this place.
It's bizarre.
Which is then followed by when you meet those people, and you can be anywhere in the country. When you meet those people, then it's followed by, do you know
Yeah.
so and so, right?
It's awesome.
Or internationally.
Or
Yeah.
internationally,
Yeah,
yeah,
in the country.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. When the West Virginia gig opened up, it was a surprise, right? Surprise to everyone. Like, what just happened? Like, Mountaineers at Selection Sunday don't make it in, and then like Monday comes and there's some. When it first popped into your mind, or like the conversations began, what was your initial perception of the West Virginia program?
I had a ton of respect for it, and like I've mentioned, I always felt like it had a very powerful national brand. Even me not having spent a ton of time in West Virginia, my wife's, like I said, from Baltimore. We vacation in the Outer Banks, every summer she has, and so it's always like you realize just how powerful of a brand and the success that, like, Coach Catlett and Coach Beeline and Coach Huggins, and just, really, really had just such an immense amount of respect for the program itself. And then anytime you talk to anybody about the state of West Virginia, everyone, the first thing that comes out of their mind is like the people, just how awesome the people are, how nice the people are, how loyal the people are. And so when you're considering, jobs, and you're considering moving a family, you want to make sure you're putting them in a position where they can feel comfortable being around good people, and people that are going to welcome them and look out for them. And so that was the two things that kind of jumped out. Obviously the basketball part, the league, the success, and then no matter who you ask about the people of West Virginia, they're like, man, they are some of the best people you will ever meet, and has not been disappointing to that point. Everybody's been incredible.
Yeah. It takes a long time, doesn't it? So you got hired, was it still March, by April, early April, but now you're just finally getting the family, all the pieces together, at least for a while, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone is together. So it takes time. And I would imagine this weekend, 4th of July weekend, you guys were finally all together in the house. It was like,
yes.
Did you finally breathe?
Yeah. Yes. And then, people ask, or how's it been? And that's been the only negative, is being separated from your family. That sucks. There's no other way around it. People, you can sugarcoat it. People can be like, oh, it's not that bad. No, it is that bad.
Sure.
It sucks. Coming home to an empty house is like, it sucks. But, I had everybody here, and they're going to be here for this month. And so, you feel a little more normal. You feel a little more balanced. You feel a little more whole. And it's been fun. Shelly and Emery and the kids, went and did some hiking, and so it's been fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. We talked about this, kicked this around a little bit. You bought Darren DeVries' house.
Yes.
So it was like like you went downstairs and it was already all West Virginia out.
Yes.
Right. Like you didn't have to do any of that caves. It was walk in.
Yeah, incredible basement, and and again, I know you guys have talked about it before, and they Coach DeVries' wife, man, they did a lot to that property. They put a lot into it. They put a lot of money, a lot of time, and so it was nice to be able to move. Yeah, their basement was already, as much as like a team pro shop for West Virginia down there. Stuff I didn't even know you could get West Virginia emblems on. They had them on there. So I know it's disappointing for a lot of fans, that he was only here a year, but I certainly didn't get the feeling. Like I said, I bought his house. I know what they did and what they put into it. And so it was nice to be able to move into a house that was, at least had the basement all there.
Yeah.
Ready to
the
roll.
only issue I think with that house is the neighbor across the street.
It's a tough neighborhood, man.
That one guy.
Got to watch out.
Across. Was it Baker? I think the last name is.
Well, he's got that side by
he's
side.
driving that side by side. Probably makes a lot of noise.
Probably illegally.
Well, he's never there. He's always driving up into Preston County, finding places to.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to get that call when he says, hey, come on, let's go take our little ride. He's going to get you on that thing, and just be careful.
He's zoomed past me a few times on it.
But it's street legal.
Yeah, it is.
It is street legal.
Sure it is. Sure it is. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Like, if there was ever a better time to be out on the water, I don't know when it is. This is peak boat season, which means the availability of all kinds of items at Lou Wendell is at its season high right now. They do sell the Avalon pontoon boats, which happen to be manufactured 100% in the United States of America. They're in the state of Michigan, Hop. You've been doing that since the 1970s.
Tri-tunes as well.
Tri-tunes. One tune, pontoon,
even
tri-tune.
smoother.
What is it? What?
Anyone make a quad tune? What the kind you drive around? What is it?
I don't know if there's quads out there yet. Tri's pretty smooth.
Yeah. So anyway, Lou Wendell Marine Sales, over 40 years in business now, located in St. Albans. You can visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com. Earlier, Ross said he's a water drinker. Mm-hmm. So maybe we need to hook him out with Comax, because Comax Business Systems, they have so Ross, they have these water systems over at Comax that you can put in the office, like best water in the world.
Really?
like best water in the world. And you can go to Comex.
It's really
Business
convenient delivery system too. Is probably the biggest thing.
Well, yeah, you don't have to get those big, heavy, like 5-gallon things and like put them over your arm and shoulder and plastic. You don't know what's in that plastic thing. Contact Comex Business Systems. What are you laughing about? Plastic.
Just an indicted of an whole
Hell, you don't need
industry.
that plastic in your water. Just go to ComexWV.com.
Microplastics.
They've got hot water, cold water, ice for your break rooms. We might get one in Ross's house because I think the guy drinks a lot of water, right?
Well, sure.
Visit Comex.
Hydration's important.
ComexWV.com.
Coach, do you have any? You're pretty busy, obviously. Got any hobbies?
Not really. Not a huge like golf guy or anything like that. Like I said, I'm either usually coaching our team or watching my kids play sports. We as a family we like to play pickleball.
Okay.
So we will.
What are the team? What are the teams there when you play pickleball?
Well, no one wants to be on their mom's team.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Shot at Shelley.
My
Sorry.
gosh.
Sad but true.
Yeah.
They usually give her a pretty hard time. So usually it has to be me and her against the kids. But
who wins?
We can hold our own. But they probably get the best of us.
You don't cut them any slack. Do you cut them any slack?
No. We like to. So yeah, just do that. We play euchre. We like to play cards a lot.
Sure.
Family like euchre. It's a good game. So usually, yeah, if I'm not coaching our team or doing something basketball related, or recruiting, or I'm usually just at home with the fam doing stuff like that, or watching them play. My son plays baseball and football. My daughter plays volleyball, runs track. So it's not like you're just sitting around doing a lot of time.
He's got kids to raise.
Can you watch your kids play without giving advice or coaching during the game?
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's definitely hard. So
even in baseball and football.
Yeah. Football, no, because you're so far away.
Right.
You're just sitting and watching, But it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Sure it is.
So,
how do they take it? Do you coach them up and do they respond?
They're like teenagers, so you can imagine how they want to.
Yeah.
It depends how bad it gets. Like anything else, if it hadn't bottomed all the way out, they don't want to hear it. But if it bottoms all the way out, then ironically they're all ears.
Yeah, got it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. We talk defense. Give me your take offensively, because the game has obviously changed so significantly from when you first started in this business. Now we're spreading it out, and we're playing sometimes 5 out.
Yep.
Where's your head offensively? What do you like?
Well, I think our defense has gotten a lot of attention, rightfully so. But, one thing that probably hasn't got talked a ton about when you talked about us is like we have been very efficient offensively. And like we had the second best offensive rating in our league in the American last year. And so, when you talk about tempo, really you want to you're really trying to get the best shot you can get. We're not the type of team that wants to get shots up just for the sake of getting shots up. But if we can if Trayson or Honor, if you're kicking that ball ahead to them and they're open, you want them shooting the ball,
pull it
as soon as they can see the rim, and we've been a very good 3-point shooting team, historically top 50, and so I think what you're trying to do offensively and the goal of any good offensive coach is you're trying to put your best players in the best positions and, kind of figuring out how do you play after the play. There's the play, but then how do you get to the what's next part of the action and getting everybody to understand what's going to be a good shot for us. And I do think that can be hard for young players. Shot selection, I always say, is not an equal opportunity. What's a good shot for Tony isn't going to be a good shot for me, but maybe that's a good shot for Brad, and what's a good shot for U-Hop is not. So it's like, how do we all figure out, okay, hey, that's a really good shot for Brad, but that doesn't mean I get to shoot it, and so you're just trying to be as efficient as you can, while taking care of the ball and getting the ball to your better players in positions they can be successful.
Is it still too early for you to characterize what your team is going to be able to do well? Do you think it's a good shooting team now? Do you think it's
it's a little too early because I've always said it's hard to get better when you're just playing against yourself all the time. You really get better when you start playing against other teams and other scrimmages and games. That's how you evolve and you grow as a team, and you try to have as much foresight as you can as a coach to the vision of what it's going to look like. But until you really get into that and you start, so you don't really know, but we do shoot the ball well collectively, and we can shoot it from multiple positions. I think we have, several different ways you could play. We could play bigger, we could play smaller, have some interchangeable pieces, and so you're just trying to figure out, again, what's going to be the best way for us to play.
Feels like you have multiple guys that can shoot it too. It's not just one or two that you hope are on that night.
Correct.
It's a handful of guys that can step out.
Correct. A lot of guys that you're capable of shooting it, and then that should create some level of space, and then you're playing off that space.
Yeah. Coach, I asked you this at your introductory press conference. I think people groaned, but it's worth asking again. And that is what?
Did you have your legal pad when you were at his press conference? Do you remember, by the way, Ross?
Oh, yeah, I remember that's and I remember I think Ren said that's why they don't call him hard-hitting Hoppy for no reason.
I forgot about that. That's true.
No, it's a fair question. And I want to preface it by saying I don't expect you. I don't think anybody would expect you to say, I'm committed to being here for life. I mean, that's not the way the world works. But clearly, as Tony and Brad have alluded to, I mean, West Virginians were pretty stunned when Coach DeVries left. So can you address that? What would you say about your commitment here? I'll just leave it open-ended.
Yeah, I think I guess what do they say? The best predictor of, future behavior is past behavior. And, we were in Denton for 8 years. Loved that place. Had a lot of opportunities to leave there for what people would consider, bigger and better. But that isn't necessarily what's the most important thing to my family. And so I'm not somebody that, just me. I'm kind of a comfort zone person. And so I'm not somebody that just wants to change a lot and move a family a lot, and that's just not what I like to do. So with that being said, it's not something I want to do. And so even if it's, again, what someone else may think is, oh, that's a no-brainer, you have to do that. I don't necessarily view it that way.
So is it fair to say that the things you want to do professionally, you believe you can do them here?
Correct.
And don't need to go somewhere else to accomplish the things you want to accomplish in your coaching life. I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm trying to characterize.
Yeah, I believe, mindset. Like I said, I believe in the, I believe in the alignment here. It started with President Gee, and now it's President Benson to Ren. And so you have to be aligned with what everyone's vision is for a program. I said that before, coaches win games, but I really do believe administrations win championships.
Okay.
And so if you ever felt that you didn't have that alignment, maybe things would change. But for now, it certainly feels all that's in alignment. We've talked about the people here already. You have some of the best people that you can be around, a loyal fan base that wants to win, that wants to be in Sweet 16s and Final Fours, and you have one of the best home court advantages, if not, Ken Palm, the best home court advantage in the entire country. And, I have a son that'll be an 8th grader that's entering into high school. Like I said, things change, but it's just, and I'm not knocking anybody that does that. I'm not casting stones. I'm just saying, for me personally, to answer your question, I don't want to move a lot. It's just not what I like to do, and I feel like you don't have to do that. We can do the things that we want to do professionally. We can win at the level we want to win at. It's not going to be easy. We know that. Nothing's easy. It's not easy to win a game, let alone 20 games, let alone championships. None of it's easy. But I do feel like we have what you need to have to give yourself a chance.
One of the big things that we do on this show is we attempt to give back to West Virginia and the community. You're big into doing that to make sure that your players get involved. And Jasper Floyd is coming with us a week from Saturday, the 19th of July. And this is a shout out to folks that are Three Guys listeners. We are going to do a live event, second year in a row, as part of the WVU Cancer Institute's Golf Classic at Stonewall Resort. It is Saturday, July the 19th, and me and Brad and me, whatever that is, Brad and I, will be there. Hoppy is out, but Brad and I will be there. Jasper Floyd is going to be with us. Nathan Adrian is going to be with us.
Wow.
So this is what Nate's going to do. He is going to man up at one of the par 3 holes, and you will play the pro. So your group goes in, if you're golfing, and he'll fire, and then you fire. You try to beat Nate on that hole.
Has he been practicing? Do we know? Do we have an update on that?
Well, I don't think a golf club and he are too far away most of the time. So here's the deal. As we go into today, and we're recording on the 7th of July, there are 12 foursomes that are still left. You can go to WVUCancerGolfClassic.com. You don't have to play. So what we do is they play, and then afterward we have a luncheon/dinner where we do our little bit of a live show. So Parkersburg Brewing's going to be there. Connection 304. We've got our own beer called Connection 304. That'll be on the course and after the event. Also, they've got clay sports shooting as an alternate activity. You can do that. Just get a dinner ticket, and you can do the clay sports shooting. And also auction highlights. Charles Wesley Godwin has been gracious enough to give us 2 tickets to his concert at Red Rocks in October. And Chuck,
that'd be a great spot.
Chuck just texted.
Yeah, my daughter's already been wearing me out on that one.
Yeah,
she wants to do that one.
Yeah. So Chuck said
She just got Morgan Wallen in. Now she's already moved to the next. That's how it works. I know.
Yeah.
Same in my household.
So we're also the chance that you're going to be able to meet Chuck after the show. Chuck's going to have someone walk you back there at Red Rocks. Last time he played there, if you remember, it was full snowstorm. It was awesome. Also, a 3-day weekend available in our live auction at a custom cabin built by Mark Bowe's dad, Hoppy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be nice. A private dinner at the wine bar with the Three Guys crew and volleyball coach Jen Greeny. How about that?
That was fun. We had a great time doing that.
Fantastic.
That's neat.
That's when they had that giant bottle of wine that wouldn't fit in the
Very
studio
large
right
bottle
now.
of Camus. Very large bottle of Camus. And WVU memorabilia, plus fine looking Phil Daniels going to be there. They're going to have their gear set. Little Anthony's going to be there.
Anthony will be there on site selling.
Yeah.
Correct.
All the proceeds benefit the WVU Cancer Institute. We're supporting Dr. Hannah Hazard and the WVU Cancer Institute.
And
so
if
we'd
you-
love to have you there.
And if you've listened to the show, you're going to love Jasper, right? We already heard him on the show here. He's a tremendous personality.
You can tell, Ross, when you watch you guys practice, he's been around.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of basketball. A lot of those guys you could tell have been around.
Yeah, he has some of the highest level intangibles of any player that I've ever been around. And I still have my boyish good looks, but it's getting gray. But
how old are you right now?
44. I'll be 45 on July 15th.
Episode 644. He's 44.
Okay, I take it.
Seriously,
I take
dude,
back
this
what
was
I
in the
said.
cards. You become
need
the
to
West
retract
Virginia
that.
head
I'll retract
coach
that.
when you're 44.
Correction.
Think about that.
That's pretty good.
He became the West
That's a good
Virginia
one.
head coach when he was 44.
Your numerology is really good today.
I'm on a hot numerology
We
streak.
do love stats on this show. Do we need to hit a stinger here? I don't have stats. I'm going to ask him about stats. You want to hit a little stinger?
Yeah, wait a second.
Do you have it? Can you get to it?
Yeah, 1 second.
It's a good segue since your numbers have been so good today, which is unusual for
I'm
you,
going to give you a
quite
little
frankly.
sting. Here we go. 3,
is
2,
true,
1,
right?
sting.
Normally they're not.
Go.
Favorite, because you've mentioned a couple different statistics today while we've been talking. Give me your top couple, not just your favorite, top couple statistics that you go to first to either when you're scouting or team performance. What do you look at?
Scouting wise, the first thing we're probably going to do is look at a player's offensive rating, which measures that player's efficiency. It's going to take their shooting percentage from 2, shooting percentage from 3, their free throw, how many assists they have, how often they turn the ball over. And so, right away, like if there's a player that someone gives us a name that has played at the, university level, that's the first thing I'm going to do is get on there and look at their offensive rating. Team wise, we're always going to look at like points per possession, which is a good way to measure defensive efficiency. sometimes even better than just flat out raw numbers. Raw numbers tell a story. None of it tells the complete story, but they all tell little parts of the story. So we're going to look at, points per possession, your effective field goal percentage offensively and defensively.
Very good.
What are yours?
What he says.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that's what we talk about on the show. We do the offensive rating. We'll go a little deeper. Sometimes we do spots on the floor where people shoot from well, but when you get down into it, those are a couple of points per possession we use a lot.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Coach, we talked about guys who've played a lot of basketball. Have you identified guys yet that when you're coaching or when it comes to points in a game where you're trying to coach them up and they're completing your sentences, they get, oh yeah, okay, they're doing this, so we need to do this. That they get exactly what's going on and can even add to that. Do you have guys like that yet? You know what I'm talking about?
Not collectively.
Okay.
Individually, like Brad had mentioned. I mean, the guys that have been with me, Jasper and Belo, and then one of the young men that's going to be a GA for us, Matt Stone. He played for us at 4 years at North Texas. He's going to be a graduate assistant with us here at West Virginia this year, and he was part of more wins than any player in the history of the program there at North Texas. He can.
Okay.
He can. I can open my mouth and he can be behind me saying what's about to come out of my mouth.
Okay.
But one of the things that we've mentioned that is condensed now because you just don't have that many people that are going to play for you for 4 years, 2 years, 3 years. But we do try to keep our terminology pretty simple. One word
Okay.
audibles, so you can just say that specifically, and you would hope as you do it more that you get more and more people that, like I always tell the players, like, and I'm not saying that the way that we always think is right. There's a lot of ways you can win basketball games, as we know, but there is a way that we believe is going to win basketball games. And right now there's 11 players in there, a couple more coming, but there's 11 players, and someone, probably Jasper, thinks the closest he's won, right? And we're at the top, the staff, and he's probably one closest to thinking the way that we think.
Okay.
Belo's probably 2. And then there's a lot of people spread out amongst that.
Then can those guys, when you're practicing with it, they can
help
they're talking to other guys?
What you want to do is you want to get 11, because someone is sitting in that room and the way they think about the game is nowhere near the way that we think about the game. But you got to get those guys closer to the way that everyone's thinking the same way.
Well, I'll give you one. I mentioned this on air the other day. I was at practice and saw this, and Jaden Forsyth, who looks like he's got a lot of skills, but he's a true freshman. So his head's spinning a little bit right now. You got on him the other day and corrected something stance-wise, and almost before you had turned to walk back, he listened to you, said, "Yes, sir," and then immediately turned to Jasper. Yeah. And Jasper started talking to him and kind of helping to translate that. Yeah. Happened like within a couple seconds, and that's probably the example that you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And they always say, like, player-led teams are going to be better than coach-led teams, and that's where you want to get guys that you feel like have the right hearts, have the right mindsets, and you put them all in the room together, and then it's just how quickly can you assimilate everybody together.
What's your philosophy on non-conference scheduling?
We historically always play like really, really challenging schedules. I like to challenge our team in the non-league. I think it's the best way that you can figure out who you really are. You can, you don't want to bury yourselves, because as we know, like the Big 12 presents so many challenges, but you also don't want to be going into, conference play with like a false sense of security. And I don't think you never want to lose any games. You plan on winning every game you play, but you can point to some losses early on, and that's how you can grow.
Do you take losses hard?
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get over it?
Some losses I'm still not over to this day. I mean, if we're being honest. I mean, it's not like you try to, it's not like you're going to be a different person or anything like that. But when I think about certain games, like it still pisses me off to this day.
What's your biggest in-game coaching mistake that stays with you? That haunts you like a burglar in the night. You roll over in the middle of the night and you go, I should have taken the timeout.
Yeah, there's a couple of those,
Junior college or at what
both,
level?
Both where you just, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, or you just, sometimes you can see the car about to get hit by the train wreck, but for some reason you just can't get it out of your mouth to look out, There's a couple of times you see somebody get trapped in a corner or something, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be really bad. But before you can even get the timeout, he's knocked the ball out of his hands, and they're laying it up, and you were just up 1, and now you're down 1, and you're like, that was really stupid,
Okay, let's go the other side of it. What's your greatest play call ever?
Greatest play call ever?
That you just had a feel in your head, go like, all right, let's run this now.
Because you've been really efficient out of timeouts.
Yeah. I think so much of that is just, I do think there's, with what you're saying is probably, I don't know if there's ever like a play call ever, but I do think probably trying to decipher, do you want to take a timeout or do you not want to take a timeout? And
what's your mindset normally on those when the team's on a run?
Who's on the floor? Well, at the end of a game, if you get a rebound and you have an opportunity to last shot it, do you? Yeah. I think some of it depends on who's on the floor for them, who's on the floor for you. Do you know exactly what? Do you and your team know exactly what you would like to do in this scenario? Because sometimes it's just better if everybody knows what they're supposed to do and you have the right guys to just go play, and you don't let the other team. Maybe the other team can change their defense or substitute their their best defensive players in, kind of like running a no huddle in football or something like that.
Do you do the substitutions? All the substitutions?
No. Coach Hurl kind of manages our substitution pattern for the most part. I just complain about our substitution patterns. I did the subs when I worked for Coach Mack, and he'd be like, why is he in the game? I'm like, well, who would you like to put in the game then?
Yeah.
So
there's you could make a television show out of just in-game what goes on a basketball staff, because you're all close together.
Yep.
And it happens so fast. If you could just have everyone mic'd,
man.
It's mind-numbing. The things that are going boom, 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 boom so fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be a comedy, if it would be a drama. What it would be. It depends. Some days it'd be funny, and some days it was like, what?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Now, how's our guy? Speaking of assistants, our guy Phil Forte looks good in the gold and blue now.
He does.
Right? I know that's weird for him. Former great player at Oklahoma State, right? He had great games against us. We used to come on here and kill him on the air. He was so good against us.
Well, he played for 13 years.
15.
No, that was
15.
That was
15.
That was Phil, and that was Keaton Page. It wasn't the same guy. It wasn't the same short, generic white guy shooter.
Well, it felt like Phil was there forever.
It is kind of wild how Hop, you leaving? Are you departing?
No, I mean,
okay,
soon.
Sorry. Okay.
Hobby's got he's done with his questions. He's ready to go. Doesn't want the rest of the conversation.
It is kind of wild how the basketball world is so small that here comes a Forte comes through, and I mean we've had Derek Wittenberg here, and we've had guys just cycle through over time. It's a small world.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. Three guys before the game brought to us by Jan Dills, attorneys at law. Like Ross, they won't take no for an answer. Like Ross, he says, I want you to guard that guy. Guy said, well, I can't do it. He says, well, I don't take no for an answer.
Right.
Jan Dills, attorneys at law. Here's the deal. They are specialists in the world of military disabilities and Social Security disabilities, and those are more and more difficult to receive. So you need someone that's on your side. You need someone that can coach you, that can guide you in that process. As I said earlier on, 88% of all Social Security disability claims are rejected the first time through, unless you got a little something special with you, and that's what Jan Dills, attorneys at law, do. So before you try to do it by yourself, contact Jan Dills, attorneys at law. Also, shout out our folks have you had a Tudor's biscuit yet? Have they made your? You have. And
really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you eat two at a time?
I could not.
Oh, really? Just a one?
He just
Yeah.
says I'm out right
Who
away.
was in here last time that said they could definitely?
Ren didn't even hesitate. You didn't even get the question out.
He said he could eat
Oh,
too.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Because coach is a responsible eater. He's not going to like gorge himself with 2.
Yeah. Well, right now at
I could
Tutors,
eat 2 right now. Sorry.
Of course you could.
they're still crowdsourcing at Tutors. They're asking you if you would help them create what their new merchandise line is going to be for the fall. And so all you have to do is go to votetutorsmerch.com, votetutorsmerch.com. You tell them what you think would be best for their new merchandise line, and you will be signed up to win one of their $100 Tutors gift cards. That lasts through the month of July. So go to votetutorsmerch.com. Also, there's some talk, early stages, that on game days, they're going to have a 3 Guys special at Tutors.
Oh, there we go.
Like it's something
You might get cheese. You might not get cheese.
Yeah.
You just order it. You don't quite know what you're getting.
Well, I think Ross, since he's eating, like the Ross Boss would be a good Tutors biscuit, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think a Ross Boss would have just like a lot of meat on it, like a heavy meat.
Yeah. It would be what Ross likes.
Yeah.
Is that true? They're
Like
going to have a
Ross
3 Guys
decided.
thing, or did you just throw that out? Is that actually on your script?
There's an email that came through that said they're a game day special.
Good.
Seafood much?
Not a ton. Salmon,
That's it.
salmon and shrimp.
But
Healthy.
favorite meal? Steak.
Favorite meal, spaghetti.
Oh,
There you go.
really?
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 All right.
Not a steak?
I mean, I like steak. I do like steak.
Okay, so
I like steak. It's not like I'm anti-beef or anything. I'm not,
No
counsel on us now. The head coach
I'm not showing. I'm not throwing any
Jumped
shots
all
at.
over
Why did you jump in from
You jumped on it. It's like, what do you mean
I thought it
you
was going
want
to be a
steak?
steak. I didn't see
not
spaghetti
throwing
coming.
any shots at
PETA.
vegans out there or anything, but I do like steak. But
Okay,
I just
so
I like
this
spaghetti.
is
see that coming.
interesting. So how is the spaghetti prepared?
Little bit of Italian seasoning on it.
So just a red sauce you're going with, or do
Yeah.
you do an Alfredo, or what do you do?
no, just pasta, Prego.
Oh, we can do a hell of a lot better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, with all due respect to Prego, we can do a whole
Why'd
lot
you
better
just
than
slam
that.
Prego?
Hey, you don't have to slam Prego. They might
don't
be a
have
sponsor
to.
someday. You
No,
know?
they won't be.
they won't be now. I guarantee they won't be now.
No, they would. So
Gotta repair that
just a
relationship.
red meatballs
Red
with
sauce,
that?
turkey,
Turkey meatballs?
turkey meat. Yeah, not meatballs, just
Turkey meatballs,
Yeah, not
No,
meatballs,
not meatballs,
just
just meat.
ground turkey.
yeah, ground turkey. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the jarred sauces these days are pretty
like
good.
Okay. Sure.
You're talking to a food snob. He's
Yeah,
not gonna go
yeah,
for that.
I'm a
yeah.
food snob. I'm a
Oh,
food
he's
snob.
a huge
Self-announced.
food
I don't
snob.
care. These guys, they go eat there. I just try to eat good, eat right.
Well, that's fine. Nobody criticized.
Yeah, and we're not criticizing you.
You're
You're
just
the one
saying-
that criticizes everybody else.
Yeah, I
he,
do.
he just
You
said
don't have
what
to
he
get
likes.
defensive.
No, I
He
know,
likes
you-
spaghetti.
Right.
He
With-
likes the
right.
Prego sauce.
Right.
Leave him alone.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, fine. That's fine. You have any questions for us?
I do not.
He's not like, get me out of here.
He's done.
Well, I
Get
say
me
that.
out of
I
here.
say that I don't have any questions. I don't have any questions on air for you guys right now. I have many questions off air, like
What the heck
random
did-
Friday text messages to you guys for pizza recommendations.
We've
or
guided you pretty well
Hey,
so far.
listen-
Right? Ice
You have-
cream
you have-
recommendation.
yes,
Pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No
not
way.
missed.
But listen, when you texted us and said, okay, pizza, no way did I think you would become Noah's Ark when you went to pick it
Yeah,
up.
that was crazy.
How about that rain?
that was?
So he went down to Delslow down
yeah,
there,
yeah, it's a-
and it was an all out like water
That's a flood zone.
up to the
That was-
tires.
yeah, it was flooding.
Yeah, that was.
Hey, Coach, were you familiar with those camps where those terrible floods were in Texas? On the
Yeah,
Guadalupe?
it's very, very sad. Yeah,
That's
very
horrible.
sad situation.
Horrible.
Man. Very sad. Very sad.
Could you see how that happened based on the topography there? Or is it?
Yes. Yep.
'Cause you mentioned Central Texas.
Or even just like you said, or even when you went down there to get the pizza that night. If you're down at the river bottoms, or if you're at a camp and you think like, well, man, you knew it was raining. Why couldn't you just you can't get out
just
there?
goes that
it
fast.
happens
And it goes
too
that
fast.
fast. I mean, it said it swelled 26 feet in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
frightening.
terrible.
Tragic.
Yeah, like we had here in Wheeling several weeks ago. Obviously, 4 inches of rain in 30 minutes is just
9 people died.
nine. I mean, it's
Yeah, they got 12 inches in an hour.
it's
Yeah,
breathtaking.
It's horrible.
Absolutely breathtaking. All right. So we haven't done any damage. You'll come back at some point. I mean,
Absolutely. This is fun.
Yeah. See that, Brad? He said it was fun, despite the fact.
Despite that you attacked his spaghetti sauce.
Well,
Who was harder on him, Tony or me, Brad?
I think Tony was.
I agree.
Well, you went with a retreaded question.
You did retread the question. I'm surprised you retreaded the question. That's very unlike you.
Very unlike you. I thought you'd come in with a little bit different.
Asked and answered. That's what he should have said to you. Asked and answered.
I believe I've
what he should
answered
have
that
said.
question. Next.
That would have been a good response. He should have come out and went, wait a second, aren't you that guy from the press conference? I remember.
Already answered that. Next question.
He's still trying to get along.
We appreciate it. It's all good.
We do. Hey, Coach, welcome to West Virginia.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Good
to be here.
You're going to enjoy this because I think the key things that you said, like when people have ownership of the program, well, everyone has ownership of the program.
Yep.
And I just think, like, when you're the head coach, like, you become the steward of the program, right? You're the caretaker of the program for a period of time, and that's what it is.
And you know what Ren said? And Ren's not from here, but he gets it because he's embraced it. And Ren says, if you love West Virginia, they'll love you back.
Yep.
Correct.
That's pretty wise from Ren.
Correct. Yeah. Three Guys brought to us by Jan Dills, attorneys at law. No, they won't take no for an answer. By Comax Business System, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. And they sell those unbelievable water systems for your office, your business, wherever.
Oh, and by the way, win a bunch of games.
Yeah, that usually
That always helps.
That usually is a prerequisite for people like me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Then you just get the butt associated with you if you don't. And he's a nice guy, but
Didn't win. By Gomart, get a Gomart rewards card. Go to gomart.com for details and immediately begin saving on food and fuel. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com
And hurry up and get out there because summer's almost over, basically. I'm surprised you didn't say that.
It is almost
We're going the
over.
other way now.
We
Now
are.
shorter days.
Days are
Football
getting shorter.
season,
Yeah.
kickoff of the first game's just right around.
Dark.
Dark at
Tudors.
5:15 now. Hurry up.
By Tudor's Biscuit World, start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's biscuit and a biscuit. And by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers. All right, special thanks to our producer, Jake, our assistant. Jack, don't forget the Cancer Institute, July 19. Sign up, and we'd love to see you there. Going to have a really, really fun time. For producer Jake, producer Jack, episode 644 with Ross Hodge is complete. Thanks for being with us.
44.
644. Yeah,
44.
Don't start.
It's like
We're
that
out.
was Jerry West's number.
Just see you.